Welcome to Gear Shift, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of vehicle ownership with your hosts, Christoph and Kacper.
So you guys know the Ferrari symbol with the prancing horse. Have you ever seen the Volvo one, the Moose one?
No.
So there's a story. There's a very delightful story behind that. So back in I think I want to say the early 2000s when they were testing, I think it was the XC60. They claimed that the car can handle so well that it could essentially dodge a moose on the road. So somebody took it a step further, and because they called it the moose test, they started printing, stickers with like the Ferrari emblem, except it's a moose prancing instead of a horse. But you know what's the point I was getting to? You know what's crazy about it? When I actually so this is like early 2000s, when I was doing the odometer little gear in my Volvo 850 back in the day, because they tend to break if you hit the trip button too many times. So when you take the cluster apart, on the back of the cluster, I'm not even joking, on the electrical board, you know how it's like usually like green or something with like gold? Yeah. The gold in certain parts is in the shape of like mooses. And I swear to you, on the back of the cluster, there's like a moose on the back of it. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
We need photo evidence of this.
I have it somewhere. I remember taking a picture of it, but...
That brings up a good question, though. What is the plural of
I think it's just moose.
Meese?
I believe it's moose, like similar to deer.
Meeses?
No, or is it mooses for species? You know, they have the whole more than one deer is still deer, but if you have more than one species of deer,
it's deers.
It's deers.
Moosai?
Moussoir.
A moussoir. Well, this is the kind of intellectual talk you'll hear on today's episode of Gear Shift. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to those of you joining us again. We have a special guest host here today, but we'll get into him. Well, I don't know if we'll get into him, but we'll get aggressive. We go hard on this show. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for dedicating an hour to waste your time with us. We appreciate that.
We do.
I hope you're comfy.
We are.
Are you in a nice chair? Pull up a nice chair. A nice bourbon.
My sciatic is kicking in. Good.
All right, welcome back. This is going to be episode 13.
Boom.
Episode 13. This is going to be our technology episode.
Yep.
We're going to compare technology back in the day versus today. Pretty much go through the evolution of what has been called the hot technology in the auto industry.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you guys a heads up. This is going to be our best episode ever. You need to stay tuned to this. If you shut it off now, you're wasting your life. Before we really just strap on our swimming goggles and swimming cap,
I thought that was going.
And we dive right in. We have our usual crap that we got to take care of. There's, of course, we got a sponsor that keeps the lights on in the building, keeps the studio nice and warm, keeps the coffee, tea, and Strike Force in front of us, and makes it possible that you guys get to hear our nice booming voices every week. And that's, of course, the Bearded Detailer. You know him. You love him. He's the best around. He's the best around. Nothing will ever keep me down.
I love that song.
That's, of course, the Bearded Detailer. He's located in Center Valley. He's your best hookup for automotive detailing solutions, OEM parts, maintenance parts, performance parts, aftermarket parts, cleaning supplies, Laminex film. You name it.
He's got it.
If he doesn't got it, you can get it. Get it, got it good.
Boom.
If you need to contact him, 570-205-0255 or thebeardeddetailer.com. While you're over on the thebeardeddetailer.com, you can go to the swag store and you can buy your own stuff. You don't have to come here. It'll ship to your door, or you can come pick it up locally if you live in the area. If you use the promo code GearShift, you'll get a nice, but not too nice.
I think it's smooth and creamy, though.
It is smooth and creamy, but it's not like Ferrero Rocher. It's not like the best.
I haven't had one of those in a while.
Oh, I have them every Christmas. I have.
Do you really? Oh, those are so good.
But if you enter the promo code GearShift, you get 10% off your order. I mean, if you don't love this guy now, I don't think you ever will.
Something wrong with you. By the way, just to stay off topic, so Ferrero Rocher, have you ever had the coconut counterpart, the Raffaello?
Yes.
Blue
you
wrapper?
Have.
No.
They have a blue wrapper, but it was white and red. So when I was
I'm not a coconut guy, so
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that might be
yeah.
why. So yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's the same company though. It might be. Maybe it's not. So you have the Ferrero Rocher.
Rocher.
It's the same thing. It's like a little ball, whatever.
Balls.
But it has it's coconut on the outside. It has the crisp shell.
Crispy
The cream. What the hell's the cream? There's like a white cream in there, and then there's a nut in there. I forgot what is it? A peanut or
hazelnut or something?
Something like
Hazelnut.
that.
They're
no,
hazelnut,
but
yeah.
the Ferrero Rocher have hazelnut, but there's like
Yeah.
one solid nut inside the Rocher one.
That would mess with me. Like,
No, it's really
like,
good.
ooh, nice crunchy outside. Oh, you bit into a nut.
There's a tooth.
It's good,
There's
man.
a tooth in here.
Yeah. Is this my tooth? Or
It is
did
really
it come
good,
with
though.
it?
I remember those were really popular in Poland, and then I didn't see them that often when I came here, and then more recently they started kind of
Probably
popping up
Polish.
everywhere.
It's probably a Polish
Yeah,
thing.
because Raffaello is a very fucking Polish phrase.
It sounds it.
It's Italian.
No, it's Polish.
Okay.
It's an alternative.
It's
fact
not a
for you.
hazelnut, it's a potato. I'm just saying.
Yes. Also, while you're over on thebeardeddetailer.com, we have a little subsection for the Gear Shift podcast on there. So thebeardeddetailer.com/gearshift. Over there, you can listen to our episodes if for some reason you don't know how to use iTunes or any other media outlet for downloading your episodes. It's also good if you want to share it with someone who you know is not tech savvy, like parents, grandparents, a millennial, because we know they're not very good with technology.
They're horrible.
Yeah, all the episodes are on there. They're in a media player on there. You can also visit we have all of our links to everything. Social media is on there. Our Patreon page is on there if you want to give back to us and help us keep this going and want to donate a couple dollars. Every little bit counts. And also on there's a submission form. So if you have any questions, you want to get a hold of us, you can do it that way instead of composing an email, because apparently Dom thought that was too hard.
You have to hit a few buttons for email.
Seriously.
It's totally sucks.
Again, you have to teach millennials how to do technology.
You are a millennial, technically.
I know, and I hate it.
Yeah.
However, I can split wood. I don't think millennials know how to split wood.
I can split wood.
It's artisanal wood. Anyway, handcrafted. But also for any of our contests, that's how you submit your answers is through the webpage there. Speaking of contests, we'll go back to the intro here. This is now the third episode that you guys have gotten to hear the lovely vehicle that is launching in our intro. It is different from the last 10. So
that is smooth and creamy.
yeah, very smooth and creamy. No trickery here. This is a factory car
With the motor that came from the factory.
the factory motor. I'm sure it has work done to it, but
Definitely.
it is all factory. So all you have to do is simply you can either guess the car or the engine.
Yeah.
Both isn't going to get you more, but just guess it. Take a stab.
It makes it a little easier for you guys.
Take a stab. Like Julius Caesar said, just take a stab.
Yes.
My favorite quote ever is from Abraham Lincoln.
What's that?
This show is so good it'll blow your brains out.
For those of you that don't know your history, go read up. You'll get it.
John F. Kennedy said it too.
Oh, God.
This parade's going to be
Too soon.
This parade's going to be mind blowing.
Oh, God. Hold on.
Now that we've offended pretty much everybody, wait, do we have any? We gotta have something left.
It'll
Let's
come
save it.
out.
Let's save it.
Yeah.
Can't pull all our guns on the first little bit here. So yeah, we got the intro contest. That's going to be announced on episode 20. What the winner is, and the winner will receive a $25 gift card to the Beardeddetailer. What's up? Last thing I think is Wookiees. Wookiees is by this airs. We are recording this early, so this is not the day it says it is.
Yeah, so the day that this is going to air
is going to be a day after Wookiees.
The day after we come back.
Yes. Yeah, this will air the day after the weekend that we go to Wookiees. So we're recording this before Wookiees, so we are going to I don't actually have to advertise Wookiees because we're done. Yay! Wookiees was a great success, everybody. Thank you so much.
From the future. It was awesome.
But our next episode is going to be our Wookiees in the Woods recap. So that'll be the next one.
That'll be a good time.
Yeah. I don't think we actually have any recording to do on that one afterward. So it's just pretty much going to be highlights of what we did down there. So that's it.
Bits and pieces. Should be a good time.
Yeah. So we're going to get into it now. We're all enjoying a drink. You are enjoying some Lipton green tea.
Is that what it is?
Hot green tea.
It's good.
Jeremy, you are drinking some Black Rifle coffee. That is the Murdered Out. It is the dark roast.
Oh, okay.
How you liking it?
I made
delicious.
It's strong. I made it in an espresso form, so it's a little in my AeroPress.
I love it.
Love it.
I did have to twist your arm a little bit to make.
A little bit.
Yeah, you're not a very good host. I mean, the fact that your guests have to remind you to make hot adult, these aren't adult beverages, but you had the hot, beverages.
Yeah.
It's just not. I don't know.
Well, here's the
Although
thing.
I do appreciate your effort of bringing the electric kettle down here and actually making the coffee in front of Jeremy to be more,
Well,
like
because I don't like
you barista.
because I don't like leaving people down in my basement alone.
Well, the dog's here. We're fine.
Chewie's sleeping.
It showed me that you were a real person, just like everybody else. You make your tea,
I put my pants on one leg at a time, except when I'm done, I make coffee. And I am drinking Strike Force Energy, which we talked about on the military episode. So I just want a little extra. Actually, I love the flavor of this stuff. I wish they would make a non-energy version of it, like just the flavor.
Yeah.
I love it so much, but I don't want to put that much energy into my system. I just want the taste because it tastes great.
Yeah.
But the side effect is it's an energy drink. So, oh darn. Anyway, all right. So we, like I said, we have Jeremy here, Jeremy Matula. Thank you for coming.
yeah, thank you for having me.
You are our guest co-host of the day.
So before we dive into our lovely topic of this week, I'm assuming we're going to ask Jeremy how he got into cars.
You would assume correctly. So give us a quick little spiel about how you got into cars and what you have.
Yeah, well, how I got into cars is a pretty simple story. I think a lot of people can relate to this. My dad was into cars. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
yeah. So you should talk to him sometime about that.
He always just wants to swear at me whenever I see him and smoke. That's all I know.
Anybody who knows my dad knows that that's par for the course.
That's the most accurate description. Okay.
But yeah, for me, my dad was into cars. So growing up, just sharing stories about some of the cars that he had. I mean, back then people could just buy cars, brand new, and as if they worked hard as often as they wanted to, they could get whatever they wanted almost.
Yeah.
So, so he had a bunch of cars growing up, and
What did he have?
probably his favorite car was a Plymouth Duster.
Ooh,
That's pretty cool.
The old Dusters were
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
Not that reboot that they did back in like the late '90s. That Duster was horrible.
No, we're talking like way
Yeah,
older.
the original Duster was
Yeah.
nice.
So, that was probably his favorite car. But back in the early 70s, when the oil crisis hit, he actually had two Beetles. So he had a
Nice.
72 and a 73. I believe they were both Super Beetles. I hope I'm not wrung on that. But
There wasn't a whole lot of difference between the Super and the non-Super,
Yeah.
other than suspension and styling. That's really
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, simple enough. Of all the cars that he had, I loved that he had Beetles. Those were when I was little. Those were the cars that I was like, oh, that's really cool.
So you remember him having those cars?
Well, no. I
Okay.
mean, this was like before.
Oh, so you remembered him telling you about?
Yeah, just
okay,
stories
okay.
and pictures and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, but yeah. So
I think you would be hard pressed to find a family member that at one point didn't either have a Beetle or knew someone that had a Beetle.
Yeah, they
you
were
know.
very. I mean, yeah.
Everyone has
It's a
had
timeless
one.
car at this point,
Yeah.
especially.
Well, they were cheap. They were brand new. They were like
Yeah.
$3,000 back in the
crazy.
day.
Yep.
Yeah. So simple enough. Like I said, my dad was into cars. He got me into it just based on cars that he had, and I had an affinity to the Volkswagens. Got into that by the time I was of driving age. I wanted a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you for a long time, Christoph. That's how
2010.
That's kind of the thread
Yeah.
that connected us was through the Volkswagen world, and so I've had a bunch of Volkswagens. I've kind of kept it in that family. I've had a few Audis, but mostly Volkswagen, and just always loved cars. Was always into it. There was never a time that I can think back to where I wasn't into cars. Can appreciate a little bit of everything, but I stay a little bit more focused into the European stuff. But have just always been a lifelong enthusiast of anything vehicle related.
And so humble. Didn't mention his 1116 in my driveway right now.
1116.
So yeah, I brought the 1116. It's a what is it? Is it an Alfa Romeo or a Peugeot? Right?
I thought it was. I honestly, I pulled into the driveway and I thought it was a Datsun.
Datsun,
I really
yeah.
did. I thought it was
For
a Datsun.
Casper, he said thanks for bringing the Datsun out today.
Yeah, he's good. No,
Which, if you don't mind, I would like a ride later today. If you have a
yeah,
minute. That'd be awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah, I want to check that car out.
no, Jeremy has an 86 911. That's just 911, right? It's
Yep.
not an S or
Nope.
Okay,
Nope, just
at
a
the SC.
plain Jane Carrera.
But it has
So,
the turbo wide body in the rear, which is nice. You just picked that up a
couple months ago.
when did you get that?
It
November?
was like October, November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Now,
Yeah.
quick question. So I remember the bearded detailer's prior client, Dave,
Yes. is also an 86 with the wide body.
But did his had an accident, and that's why they put the wide body on? Is that what it was? Or
I think, if I remember correctly,
I'm just
Dave
curious,
said his car had an accident way before he got it.
and then yeah, that's what I mean. And then they ended up just
They grafted
doing
on,
and then yours was similar scenario, or do you just don't know the history as to why it has a turbo rear?
So that's a good question. I know some of the history of the car just in terms of like ownership, where it was. I have no idea what sparked the wide body conversion on that car.
They do look awesome though.
I did put in an inquiry with Porsche of America just to see like
if anybody knew,
what is the history of this car? They had a program. They still have it today actually, but they had a special wishes program where you could basically do anything and everything custom order.
Okay.
And so I said, hey, I have no idea if this car like came from the factory, like a special wishes car with this conversion or not. So I made an inquiry with them. Long story short, it was converted at some point. So it's an aftermarket, but it's full steel conversion.
And yours has the slant nose side vents.
Yeah, so
which
it has
is cool.
Yeah, so it has the look of a 930 slant nose car.
Flat brow.
Yeah, in the rear, with the brake duct cutouts, and so it's,
which is nice because from all the wide body rears I've seen put on, I don't see that one grafted on that much.
Yeah,
usually it's just the regular turbo,
exactly.
which is what Dave has on his. And you also have the side skirts that go with it too.
Yep.
Which is kind of neat. I know Dave's doesn't have that either.
Yeah, I didn't take a good look. I would definitely after the podcast, I'm going to take a good look at that car because it looks awesome. I like the color a lot too.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And the wheels suit it. I'm a fan of gold.
They're period correct, and that's what I like
absolutely.
about them.
Yeah.
They're not the mag. You always see mag wheels on the Porsche mag wheel. You always see that wheel, which is nothing wrong with it, but you always see it.
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's nice every once in a while. It's nice to kind of get stimulated by something else.
Which Dave had on his, and then he just upgraded to new wheels. But that's you always see the mag wheels.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that car when it actually.
Yeah, those are gonna be nice.
Has those new wheels on. And,
any mods, Jeremy, or no? Is there anything done to that car?
No, I mean,
what's it got done to it, bro?
For the most part, it's
it's bought, not built.
It's exactly. It's pretty much bone stock from what I can tell. The only thing that I've done to it above and beyond the way I inherited the car is just about a week ago, I took it to Kresge and saw Kevin and took the muffler off and put Fab Speed's little muffler delete pipe on it.
Which cool. It sounds fantastic.
Does it?
Yeah. I want to hear it under load,
I'm really enticed now.
But just it idling in the driveway, I was like, oh my goodness.
It has a little bit of a hot rod sound to it now.
Cool. Yeah, it does.
And I was telling Christoph, it's actually loudest at idle. So
really,
when you're driving it actually isn't too much that you're like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
It's a really nice tone. I mean, it goes down to taste.
And you can't beat it for the price either.
Yeah. I mean, it's the cheapest. It's the cheapest exhaust setup that you can do on that car, short of being able to do your own stuff, welding and
still maintains the cats.
Yeah, stock cat.
Yeah.
So Fab Speed makes a cat delete as well, but it's all modular design. So
speaking of cat, that's my automatic feeder. But Bubbles is outside and Wolfie is upstairs.
Yeah,
so
Christoph has not done his cat deletes yet.
No,
we love him. But yeah, my plan for the car, it was a dream come true to get this car. It was a long time coming. I had to sell a car. I had to give up a car. Sold a B5 Audi S4 to one of my best friends, Derek. But
that car was okay, really. I mean, there was nothing special about it.
Yeah, he's babysitting it for Kevin actually.
Yeah.
Is that really?
That's the blue one.
But is he actually babysitting it for Kevin or no?
Kevin will eventually want it. I know because Kevin will get bored of he'll get bored of the 240. He said it himself.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I feel like you get bored of every car sooner or later. It's just one of those. Some people. Well, I'm lying. That's not true. Some people don't.
Well, no, I think everyone does get bored. It's just a matter of do you act on that boredom and get rid of it, or do you
just the sentiment take over?
Because I've been bored with the R32 several times, but I'm like, well, I'm just never going to get rid of it.
Yeah. Do you stick with the platform, or do you go somewhere else to get your kick somewhere else? Yeah.
True.
You kind of have to do a mental reset when you get You have two options when you get bored with the car.
That's where I'm at.
You either do a mental reset and you muscle through it and just appreciate it for what you have. Like that's at the crossroad where I'm at with the R32. Mm-hmm. It's paid for. It's been a great car for us for 5.5 years. It's not a fast car by really any modern standard. You can easily pick up a newer car and put power down much easier for the same money or less. But for what it is, I've now had to do a mental reset and go, we're keeping it. I mean, I've told myself we're keeping it for years, but we're keeping it, and I'm just going to appreciate it for what it is, and that's it. If I get super bored, I'll get another car in addition. But or your other option is get rid of it, get something else that you'll eventually get bored with again.
Yeah.
But which I know that seems to be what Kevin wants to do, is when he gets bored with it, get something new. Which, but hey,
nothing wrong.
There's
with
no
that.
right or wrong way.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
just those are really your two options with that. So,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Now we get that out of the way. Like it's an inconvenience. Like, oh,
finally,
Thank
Jesus.
God that's over.
Thanks for talking about yourself, Jeremy. We're going to move on to the topic. So the topic today is technology. And this topic can get super in-depth. It can get super long. We're going to try to keep it as simple as possible. But it's definitely cool. What the first thing that came into my head when this topic came around was thinking about what was the hottest technology, even going, let's go really far back and let's go to the 50s. Like, what was the most groundbreaking piece of technology in automotive industry at that point compared to what it takes now to make us go, ooh, that's new, that's hot. You know, so much has changed. And we were, right before we started recording, we even said even 15 years, even 10 years, what has come along in 10
drastic.
years
It's so drastic.
is massive. Now, my question is I wonder, when are we going to hit that stalemate? And
are we going to hit that stalemate?
But I mean, this is just the automotive industry. Think about the world in general. We had the big industrial boom, and then lately, like for us to go, well, that's not. I mean, okay, cool, we can do this now, but it wasn't as groundbreaking as here's the combustion engine. I mean, that changed.
Yeah.
That changed the world.
Yeah.
So I think electric cars is now going to be an autonomous. That's going to be the next technology boom that changes the world once it's perfected.
And affordable.
And affordable, yes, absolutely. Because anyone can come up with technology, that's great, but once it's affordable, that's when it becomes
once
innovative.
it's safe, once it's affordable.
Yep. So, let's start mucking around here.
Mucking.
I know I'll kick it off. There's one thing I know that I think was a cool piece of technology. I don't know if it was ever considered to be hot, but from everyone I know that have ever used one, I know they wish it never went away, and it was the jumper switch or the jump switch. So the high beam switch that was on the floor.
I think I remember you mentioning that. I've never been in a car that had one.
So some cars had it. I know a lot of trucks had it, pickup trucks.
Okay.
It was super cool. You were able to keep your hands on the steering wheel. You didn't have to, you're just using your foot. You didn't have to. I know it sounds like the biggest problem to have to move a finger to swipe your high beam off, but it was really cool to be able to. It wasn't your hands doing something else. It was your foot. You just used your foot for it. It became a little inconvenient if you had a clutch. And
I was going to say that,
and you had to do high beam and clutch and shift at the same time.
Else with your feet.
Yeah. So, but it's the same scenario.
Probably why they moved it.
Well, look, you have the same situation if you're going around a really sharp turn over a hill. And you don't have, let's say you have your right hand on the steering wheel, not your left. So then you're always going to have to be shifting to turn your high beam, off. But I thought that was a really cool piece of technology that went away. I know a lot of people said they love that. I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing. My 94 F-150 had that. And the truck I learned how to drive on, which was an 85, that had it. My dad's 85 Chevy D30 had it. Yeah. It's cool. I liked it. I thought it was really cool.
I've never even seen that before.
Yeah, it's this little silver switch about yay big, and it was just a switch. Yeah. You just put
like you're turning a lamp on and off, like those little foot.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's all it was. It was just
cool.
a metal switch that you just click, 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 click.
Wow.
That's it. Also, older trucks had the floor vents. Your fresh air vents were actually a lever you could pull, and it would pull in your fresh air from down by your feet. That was awesome in the summertime. So you didn't have to actually turn the air conditioning on. You could just pull those and roll a window down.
Nice.
Or open the rear window of the cab, the sliding windows. Open those and pull those. You didn't even have to roll the windows down. You had fresh air.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've actually always been more of a fresh air versus AC fan. I don't know. I like having the window down. It's just my thing.
Yeah.
I think part of it is because the first, one, two, hold on. Let me do this calculation real quick in my head here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did not have working air conditioning until my 7th car.
Yeah.
So all my cars were 96 or pre.
It's
so
overrated.
Nature's air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that with some of my cars now.
It's nice. I think there are certain cars that are better designed for having the window down than others, like the airflow
Yeah.
of how it comes in. Because I'm trying to think of a good example here. Like my old Beetle was awesome to put the window down.
Toyota Echo, maybe.
I've never driven one, so I couldn't answer that. I would imagine, though, because of the thought put into that car,
The coupe.
and that it was the best car ever designed, that it was designed perfectly to allow for any circumstance to be optimal.
That was
To
part
be
of the
ideal.
aerodynamics.
Yeah,
Design.
absolutely. It went styling, aerodynamics, windows being down on the list of benefits for that car.
Truth. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any like really fair. I think I don't know it. Okay, so the one technology I did like, or I do like still, very much so, that I don't, forgive me because I don't know when it really started, but I can't imagine this technology being around much earlier than when I had experience with it. So I hate to constantly go back to Volvo, but that is where my biggest experience is. But so the 850s, and I believe some of the other cars around that generation had this what I essentially call an info bar. So it's
Like an infotainment center?
yeah,
where it
so
told you all your trip mileage and everything?
Yeah, and everything. It's like I was very surprised when I first got into these cars that the turbo cars, because I don't if I remember correctly, the NA cars didn't have it, but the turbo cars or anything like a step above the base had essentially, it's just a little knob that has 6 positions. One tells you your overall gas mileage, your current gas mileage, the temperature outside, your, what else was it? Total, I think there's a trip on there as well. Average speed, and I think if I remember, the last option is actually miles till empty. And this is, mind you, 95, 96.
Yeah.
I know Volkswagen had some sort of infotainment with Mark IIs.
So, yeah, I was going to say, it was probably around like the late 80s, early 90s where this started to come up.
It was definitely early 90s, because I don't think you could get it in earlier Mark IIs, but definitely like when they did the body switch for like big bumpers and stuff like that. So I'm 90.
And then, I mean, a lot of different cars started having like, like, you know, the E36 BMW started to have like, you know, their own little thing in the middle. Saabs had them.
I think you'd find a lot more of that in
The European game?
No, in the Asian car market. To believe it or
Really?
not, well, electronics have never been strong in the European market.
That's true.
That's never been. I mean, look at any European car. Electronics has never been the forefront of their strong point. I think it has now changed within the last
Probably decade or so,
10,
right? Yeah.
10 or less years, where like now the stuff that you know, Audi and Porsche has now for technology is, even Volkswagen is fantastic, but I think that was always a big selling point for Toyota, for Honda. They always had like a little edge on technology versus just mechanical. If you wanted something good mechanically, you always went for European cars. If you wanted simplicity, you went with American cars.
Yeah.
And if you wanted technology, you usually went with an Asian car.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty general statement that we can agree on.
I think that's pretty accurate, yeah. Yeah, well then.
It's a great show, guys.
And that's it. Thanks for tuning. No, just well, we can talk about headlights next, actually.
Yeah, it was what, 92?
92.
92.
I'm looking at the article here. So headlamps have evolved everything from, if you want to go back to the really olden times, it was actually just a candle.
Yeah.
Which brings back the term candle power, candle watt. That's really old school. Anyway, so yeah, they actually had a candle in there. Then the invention of the light bulb getting adapted into automotive use. Super dim. They would burn out real easily. And then they went to a sealed beam, which was nice. The design was better, usually round or square.
Yeah.
They didn't have any funky designs.
Older motorcycles too.
Yeah. But the problem with that is if your bulb blows out, you then have to buy a whole
You're out the whole
assembly.
unit. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to replace them.
Yeah.
And those even, that's not even that old if you think about it. There were some 80s cars that had sealed beams. So that's not even that old, really, in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, now it's nice because if you get a car that has those, you can easily buy a retrofit that will, a replacement assembly that then you can change the bulb out.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Then they went to obviously the halogen where you could replace the bulb. And then the projector came around, being able to put a projector lens, which just redirects the light. So without going into huge detail, the way a reflector assembly works is it uses a series of angles and mirrors to direct the light in the direction they want it to go.
Yeah.
If you increase the brightness of the bulb in that, you will get a lot of scatter because they're designed for only a certain amount of output.
Yeah.
So that's when the projector came in. The reflector housing, the whole assembly is the bulb chamber. A projector assembly has a reflection chamber, but then it's behind a convex. Convex goes outward, right?
You got it.
Yes. Look at me.
Dropping some science on it.
I went to college. It has a convex lens in front of the bulb in the reflection chamber. So it's easily, you can then redirect a higher output more evenly, and it's more controlled essentially.
Yeah.
So this just could go off on my own little rant when people put HIDs in the reflector housings.
Hate you.
I hate you.
What?
Absolutely hate you. Like, that is easily one of my biggest pet peeves. That I think that trumps every other pet peeve I have. I don't know. Driving in the rain without your headlights on is number one.
A lot of things
Piss me off. Yeah.
piss you off. Is
To
what
be,
you're getting to.
to be fair, I am angry a lot, but no, it's very easily. And there are companies out there, and by the time I get done saying this, I'll decide if I want to put the one on blast. There are companies out there that want to sell HID bulbs that are easily dropped into your reflector housing.
Don't do it.
That it has a metal band that goes around it, so it doesn't. It has a cutoff. It doesn't scatter as easily.
You're still doing it.
You're
wrong.
still doing it, yeah. It's still wrong. You should not do that. Do it right, or do it twice.
Facts.
And I really want to say their name really bad.
Don't do it.
Well, they're not going to listen to the show.
But don't do it.
I want to so bad.
There's no reason to.
I hate them because they argue with me all the time.
So OBD2 is another cool.
Well, going off the lights thing here too. So then you
Yeah, you
so,
skipped over LED then.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
projector. Actually, I think projector came first with just a halogen bulb in there because you have halogen projector setups, and then you have the HID, so a xenon bulb, which is a gas bulb instead of a filament bulb, which then has an igniter that ignites the gas and a ballast to control the power going to it. And then the most recent technology has been LED, which is super awesome. I'm waiting for them to get. It's going to only progressively get better.
Sure.
Yeah. I think when early models came out, who uses it? Acura uses LED headlight. Audi does.
Yep.
For headlights, I'm trying to think who else uses it for headlights. I know everyone now has an LED daytime running light, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But who else uses it for a headlight? Lexus maybe?
Yeah, I think all the high end
Yeah.
cars are starting to navigate over to that. I mean, I think Jaguar is one of the only like brand new cars that hasn't gone like fully on board with LED. I could be wrong about that,
It's
but
Maserati? I don't think Maserati does too.
I don't know.
Porsche does.
Porsche does.
Porsche
yeah.
does, like in the one that you can see from a mile away is the Panamera
Yeah.
because they have those four.
The
And
full,
actually,
yeah.
Does the 911 have that too? Or they have a single?
I don't know.
I don't know. I know
I don't
for
like
sure.
I don't like the new cars, the new 911s. Sorry.
Ooh, we have a purist.
I'm kidding.
What's that meme with the guy who plays Newman from in Jurassic Park? Like, we got a purist. See, nobody cares. So yeah, I mean, but it's cool. It's a more crisp, and actually you're keeping temperature down too, and it's longer lasting.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
big thing with going from a halogen to a xenon bulb. It lasts longer. Now, granted, it's more expensive to replace, and then going to the LED burns cooler or stays lit cooler.
Yeah, the voltage is way
Drops.
lower.
Oh yeah.
And the light output as the technology gets better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's going to be more commonplace that you see full LED.
There was
everything.
laser at one point. I know who was I think it was Audi that was trying to develop a laser. I think.
Yeah, I
I
think.
could be wrong on that.
No, I think you're right.
But it was a laser. It was an actual laser light, and it uses a series of mirrors and filters to change the color and the spread if I remember right.
Yeah.
I'll have to find
if
that.
you remember correctly.
It's interesting.
But yeah, an article that I read just in doing some homework ahead of this episode was mentioning laser focused headlights.
Laser.
A laser. But that could be the future, and I don't know who directly was kind of heading that effort, but LEDs are kind of where things are at right now. But
yeah, a lot of cars. I know that a big thing is to always replace your halogens, interior bulbs with LEDs. That's a very commonplace for a lot of people to do that. But now look at like the Mark 7 Golf and GTI and Golf R. They come with an LED interior, so there's no need to upgrade it. The GTI now has LED fog lights, so there's no need to upgrade those anymore. So yeah, it's becoming more mainstream, which is nice. But yeah, it's good to see all these manufacturers finally getting on board with technology.
I want to say I feel like the big boom for all that stuff was like 90s
or late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Because the BMW had the halos. I think they were like the first. Was BMW the first one to have like a daytime running light that was like an LED?
I would assume that they were the first one, or they were the first one that looked good.
That's the one that everybody thinks that.
Is the
Halos. So it's got
And then Audi was there soon after with their LEDs. So it's between. I think BMW was first though, with their little halos.
But yeah, like I feel like the mid to late 90s is where this boom happened, because you had the introduction of like more, or not the introduction, but the
technology was available.
Yeah, the mass production of airbags, even, for example.
Yeah, safety equipment.
It started side impact and all that other stuff. Like airbags everywhere.
Yeah.
You get airbags. You get airbags.
Everyone gets an airbag.
So yeah, you had that going on. You had OBD2 coming in and kicking in.
Diagnostics.
Yeah.
So onboard diagnostics, there was two versions of it. There's OBD1 and OBD2. Obviously, it's just more in depth of what you can pull.
Yeah.
So that
generation of the technology and
OBD2
was
96.
95, 96 was a split.
Yeah.
Depending on the manufacturer, but yeah,
it did depend on, because I
think 96 was it had to have it by 96.
Yeah.
But some manufacturers,
because there were some cars. Yeah, there were some cars that had it in 95.
Yeah. Mark III, I know Mark III Volkswagen, you could either, 95 was a split. Some had them, some didn't.
Yeah.
So what that does is it allows you to communicate with different modules, because all cars nowadays are all computer driven for pretty much everything. I don't think I don't know the last mechanical thing. I'm trying to think like my Audi, for example. I'm trying to think what is actually mechanical on there.
Nothing.
An axle.
That's about it.
It comes down to the only thing mechanically left is your engine and the transmission. Yeah. And any of the moving parts are mechanical, but they're controlled by a computer.
Yeah.
Everything's drive-by-wire. So there's so many different modules throughout all vehicles. So the OBD2 port or OBD port allows you to communicate with all those. And if there's an error or something wrong, it lets you find out what it is, or generally find out what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, which is important for Volkswagen, because the check engine light's always on.
Every time.
If it's not on, it's broke.
Yeah. Step 1 to diagnosing your engine, check engine light, is open your hood, check to see if your engine's there.
And if it's there, you're good.
Close the hood and you're good to go. Keep on trucking.
Keep driving. But OBD2 is I think a great topic, because you can think about like what the thought was behind doing onboard diagnostics, and then how that went into the tuner capabilities and being able to access information and change things on the fly, to now where they're talking about insurance. There's insurance companies that are already doing this, where you can plug in.
I think Progressive might have been the first one that had that little reader that you plugged in, and I had it. So this is how I know about Progressives, and they would adjust your rates depending on your driving habits. Right. They knew how many hard stops you had. They would measure everything, so they knew what time of day you were driving. And there's higher risk times to be driving than other times. So they knew what time you were driving, how many hard stops, how many hard accelerations you were doing. What was that?
It's my stomach.
Oh.
I need some Chipotle after this.
Well,
Facts.
we had a whole episode where he was shitting his pants, so I don't know if it was
a
him
good time.
that didn't come across in the audio.
No,
it was in the blooper reel. Anyway, I don't know where we're going with that one.
Talking about Progressive.
So they knew everything that your driving habits, and I guess you could look at it. Oh, Big Brother's watching, but no, they wanted to be able to adjust your rate depending on what kind of driver you were. So it was the most raw way to adjust your rate. you can then get screwed on that if you are a shitty driver. But one thing I hated about it is drive time. So you can be the safest driver in the world, and you can have all the data to back it up. But if your work schedule means you have to drive during one of the highest risk times, your rate's going to go up.
Yeah.
Just because of that, which I think with Crystal, because she was on call at that time, she would go in at weird hours, and those hours were high risk times. So it sucked. So our rate went up.
Yeah.
But
well, it's very Big Brotherish, but there's
Yeah.
talk that it's going to be more. That's the future in terms of like
it might be built
risk
into your car.
assessment, and that's the way that insurance is going to work.
Yeah.
Is you plug that in, and then they know what you do and how you do it.
It doesn't get any more raw than that.
Yeah.
There's no fluffing the
They're
numbers anymore.
they're not working off of statistics and percentages at
Yeah.
that point. It's
Yeah.
like, this is what I do.
You are
when I drive my
currently
car.
doing this.
Yeah.
And it would get updated within an hour. Like, it was very up to date. You could log on and see it all yourself too,
Yeah.
which was then nice, because if you knew you did 10 hard stops in a day, then the next day you'd be like, the next time you got in the car, like, yeah, I should probably brake easy. So it
Starts
did
to modify behavior. and
Yeah,
stuff
it
like
did.
that.
It
Yeah.
definitely did. And I know a lot of that goes into autonomous cars too. Instead of a person making that decision, you now have a computer that's constantly making all these assessments. But it's also based on experience. It's constantly evolving. It's learning. We got to do a whole episode on that. I'm not even going to go down that road.
That's
Yeah.
a crazy topic.
There's so much to go on with autonomous and electric cars. I think we need to do a whole episode on that. So, but yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, OBD2, and well, just going off of that, look at the way you used to tune cars. Go back to the olden days. You play with the carburetor. You mess with your fuel and air inlet. Then when computers, ECUs became into play, then you actually had a chip that you would take it apart, put it in, either solder it in or to clip in, depending on what kind it was. And then from there, you went to flash tunes. So you just plug into the OBD port, and you could modify everything via a program. You could write it over. There was no security. You could just do it.
Yeah. That's the world we live in today. Is you don't like your tune.
Yeah.
You don't like your tuner.
Well, it depends. There's still some manufacturers today where you have to break open the ECU. The newest Volkswagens, I know, I'll go back to my Passat. The Passat, which was a 12, you had to open the ECU to tune it.
Huh.
You had to pin it inside the ECU, put it back in the car, drive it. Like, we did a dyno tune with mine. So that was annoying. You had to do a couple pulls, pull the ECU.
Let it adapt or whatever.
Yeah. And then pull the ECU, tune it, put it back in, adapt it, then do your dyno pulls to see where you measure, and then take it back out. It was a full day process.
That sucks.
But that's a modern car. That's a newer car that you have to pull the ECU on.
Yeah.
So manufacturers are trying to put hiccups.
To make it harder for you to mess around with stuff. Yeah.
And rightfully so. They can't be liable for what us enthusiasts want to do with our cars.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they are, but I mean, to a degree.
Yeah.
But they don't want to be.
Even if you wouldn't have to go through that process of taking things in and out, they always say manufacturers can just, when they plug your car in for simple diagnostic at the dealer, they can see, hey, has this been messed with? How many times has it been
because you have actual and specified.
Yeah.
So what it's supposed to be and what it really is. If those two numbers don't match or within a certain tolerance, this car's got something done with it, or there's something very wrong. But
then you can be red flagged though, and then
for your warranty,
you're red flagged for life.
Yep.
So that's the risk some people take.
Yep.
And
there's ways around it.
Like
I know there's people who have never had an issue with it, and there's people who have had an issue with it. I know we've been fortunate to work at a dealership when we've had cars that have had things done to it. So I don't want to say things get under the slid, but
no, they do.
But there is wording. There is proper ways to say certain things, and at the end of the day, a warranty company or a manufacturer can't deny it unless they can prove that the problem was caused by something you did. But that comes down to tuning. If you tuned it and that's the problem,
that's on you.
That's on you, and the way won't cover it. So, but moving right along, some other technology. We got things like what was one that kind of blew us away?
I think the one that caught me.
Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. The timing of when Bluetooth actually became a thing.
1998 is what it says here. The significance of Bluetooth's wireless technology in the automotive industry wasn't completely apparent to when it launched in the late 1990s.
No, I was gonna say because it didn't start becoming like a thing until like what, mid 2000s maybe.
Yeah.
And it says 2001 had its first in-car kit for talking on your phone hands-free. It doesn't say who though. But Yeah, I mean, look at that. But it was just talking on your phone, and now you can stream music,
Nav, whatever you want to do.
Volkswagen has a lot of actual manufacturers have CarPlay, or Apple CarPlay.
Apple CarPlay.
Yeah. So
Wi-Fi. You can get your car can be a Wi-Fi hotspot now.
Yep.
Wherever you
Yeah,
are.
it's good. I mean, if you look back just technology-wise, I mean, you in the late '90s, you sat at the desk listening to AOL trying to log in and making sure nobody's calling so that you can go online
Mom on the phone
and take 20 minutes to log in and sit and chat on AIM, and now you can literally stream videos in your car off of Wi-Fi. And this is what, less than 20 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Computer technology has been just like exponential growth. Like my
Never
wife and
stopping,
I, my wife and I were talking about just like this generation of kids growing up, like things that they just won't know. Like they will never know the sound of dial-up internet connecting.
Or not being able to make a phone call unless your house had a second line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Problems.
First world
problems.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like on the topic of telephones, like back in the day, like do you remember when portable telephones were first becoming a big thing? Like my dad had he has a small business, and so he would have like a phone in his like van, like a big Motorola phone with like
not a car phone. You mean an actual cell phone, or do you mean a car phone?
It was a car phone.
Okay,
so it was a car phone.
That was cool.
But you could, it was like you could bring it, like you could change it from vehicle to vehicle.
And you had a little antenna that was you had to mount to the window,
exactly.
I know I told on the one episode that my parents had a 91 Camry that I wrecked, and they replaced it with another 91 Camry that had a car phone.
Right.
It wasn't operational by that point because this was 2005 at that point.
But that's how you knew you made it big. You had the phone.
Yeah.
If it was a factory option phone in your car, you made it.
Which is why I think you have a thing for the E31 8 Series because of the phone that they had.
Did it come with
Some of them did, right? If I'm not mistaken, the BMW 8 Series had. I'm gonna fact check myself real quick.
I want one really bad.
But I'm pretty sure.
Not even for the phone, but I do want that car. But yeah, now look at it now. You know, the Apple CarPlay. What it does is it syncs with your phone, and your car screen has apps on it. I think it's commonly used apps like your phone, navigation, any music playing. I think Spotify, iTunes.
Like Honda has like a direct Pandora plug-in.
Pandora. Everyone has. Pandora. It got in on that early.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mazda. When I was selling Mazda, they had a Pandora option. They didn't give you Sirius. Well, no, you got Sirius, but you also had Pandora option.
Mm-hmm.
So that was and you can do all that now. You don't even have to buy a car with nav. If it has CarPlay, you don't need to buy nav because you have your phone which has nav. And then you can just use Apple CarPlay.
Right.
Or even if it doesn't have Apple CarPlay, you can just stream it, and the directions will play over your radio.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was big when I was selling cars. People were like, I want nav, but I don't want to pay that price. I'm like, well, you got Bluetooth.
There's a workaround, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you like everything in this package. Well, just stream it on your phone. You don't need it. So it was nice to have that option for people. But
So GPS navigation, you kind of
that's a good segue. Yeah.
I mean, that technology has really gotten a lot better in the last few years.
And it says here 2000 was GPS satellite navigation. In the year 2000. What's that?
See it?
It's in the armrest, kind of.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
God, I want that car. So
I know
bad.
you want that car.
Oh,
Just for that feature.
sure. And I'll activate it.
No, officer. It's part of the car. I'm allowed to use my automotive.
I wonder if there's any
equipment.
companies that allow that to still work. There's got to be some way to activate them. You know what I have seen that I thought was really cool? And this goes to thinking outside the box, but people have installed Air Ride on cars with the car phones in them, and they take it apart, and they turn the keys,
into like Air Ride
into controls.
That's pretty awesome.
So you can hit like the number 2 button, and that's going up.
That is awesome.
That's pretty really cool.
That's
That's thinking outside the box. That's awesome. I've only seen it a handful of times, but I think it's pretty cool. So for GPS... I'm trying to see who was the one that pioneered that. Satellite systems, mid to late 90s. Oldsmobile was the first in the U.S. with GuideStar in 95. It says here, the U.S. government deliberately degraded the signals given to GuideStar. So, true precision GPS came to civilians luxury vehicles like the BMW 7 Series.
Yes.
Well, I think there were cars that had GPS, but it wasn't very good in terms of remember like those discs that you had to like load into your car.
Well, that
wasn't even that long ago.
No,
The R32, my R32.
Yeah,
came with
the
those.
08 was prime. Yeah,
That nav was shit.
when did they get rid of that nav? That was 09, I think, was the last year that you could get that nav.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 10, you got the touchscreen that was more commonly.
Yeah.
No, even in 09, the touchscreen, the RCD 510 started in 09, but that wasn't in every car. That was only like the, I don't know who even got the Passats, and the CC was in 09. I think the CC was the first one to get the touchscreen.
Okay.
But yeah, prior to that, you had to have a disc.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't even listen to a CD. You had to listen. Your options then were aux cord or radio, and then hold on, we gotta take the disc out. If we're gonna play Ricky Martin, we gotta take the nav out. We can't live La Vida Loca and navigate.
Yeah. That was one thing. I never used the
What,
car
listening
one.
to Ricky Martin? I know.
How dare you?
Who do you think you are? You
But
commie
yeah, even
shit.
I mean the systems in and of themselves were just like really clunky,
Slow,
like
choppy.
the display wasn't nice to look at all. Like it was literally just where you are and where you're going. Like now there's
There's
points
3D.
of interest.
You can see like
Yeah.
Google Maps. Some of them have Google Maps.
Yeah, they have like you can see
integration
buildings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome what you can do. Traffic updates. A lot of them are teamed with Sirius to actually go with
Like live traffic.
live traffic. So I know that the Audi comes with the Sirius traffic for 4 years. So it's just part of what you get. So if I'm going someplace and all of a sudden if I'm navigating, if I don't have the nav going, it won't do it. But if I have navigation going and it'll all of a sudden redirect me, and I'm like, why? And then it'll tell you up ahead there's congestion up ahead, and you can zoom out and you'll actually see it goes from green to orange. Orange means it's slower. Red means it's stopped. So it's cool. You can it definitely helps with travel time. You can actually look up, even if you're not navigating. I can go to info and I can see if there's any construction or anything around. It's pretty cool. So. And that's a 15, but now a lot of newer cars you can actually have integrated Google Maps not live view, but satellite version and street version.
Wow.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
I know Audi even has it in the display right in front of you, where your speedometer is.
Yeah, so it's right in front. It's not even like you're looking over to the.
I drove an all-road with it, and that took a lot of getting used to.
How did you not buy that?
Oh, very easy. The price tag was a little too much for me, and my car wasn't worth crap. So at the time, but no, that's all it was. But I drove it, and I was like, "This is weird. I have to have it here. I can't have it in front of me. It has to be in the middle." But it was still pretty cool. So
yeah. But yeah, that's been huge jumps in just like not necessarily the base of the technology in and of itself, but just like how it works, how quick it is. We've come a long way from like doing road trips when I was growing up with like my dad with the
maps,
the AAA Atlas, you know, underneath the seat.
Or the big thing was we got to print out the MapQuest printouts.
Yeah.
So
remember? Yeah, MapQuest, and what was the other one? There was another one too.
But it wasn't Google Maps. I only remember my dad doing MapQuest.
Yeah.
Same.
But you literally had to like print it out so that you knew.
I was
can't
gonna say,
deviate from this route. We have to.
0809, I would still like print shit
Still
out.
do that.
Yeah.
Well, and then it was like the portable ones, right? Like the little TomToms.
Yeah. Which is still very big.
I remember when they were first coming out, people were charging like $2,000 for GPS.
Yeah,
now.
they're cheap now.
Now it's like fucking.
Well, you can't even. There's no market for it now because it's all
they're
cell phones.
phones.
Phones have ruined it.
Yeah.
I bought one for my parents last year, the year before, for Christmas because they didn't have nav. You know, more old school, and we don't need to buy it. And honestly, my parents don't go anywhere that they don't go exploring. They usually know where they're going. And if they need a long trip, my dad will print out the MapQuest. He'll still do that. Even now, so he had to break it slowly. They have the TomTom. He'll still print it out, or he'll check it ahead of time because he doesn't trust it. They don't trust it to do what a traditional map would. And I guess in a way it can get frustrating. I mean, we've kind of grown up with. I don't say grown up with it. We got into cars when GPS was starting to become more commonplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's easier for us as millennials to
Just
to
use what you're used to.
technology.
using.
Yeah. But obviously our parents' maps, hard maps actually.
Treasure maps.
Yeah, actually folding them out inside the car. I remember my mom having to pull it out and look at the spot for my dad because he was driving, and then he would get frustrated and pull over and do it himself. It's a key Ambrose trait right there. I don't like what you're doing. I'm just gonna do it. Stop it. So yeah, I don't even have a map in the car.
I mean, I'd
You
be
don't need
surprised
it?
if you did.
No.
Yeah.
No, I take that back. The R32 does have a Pennsylvania map in it. I keep it in the back just in case. You never know when you're gonna need a map. I don't know how. It's probably outdated.
Yeah.
I know it's outdated. Absolutely. They're building new roads all the time. So, but yeah, I mean, you can't. Something nice about having an old school map. I don't know. But
Oh, just let it go. Just fucking.
We're all old enough that we can appreciate
when I was your age,
we can appreciate analog stuff.
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
In a digital.
Which is
world
why
we
I think
live in
the
now.
three of I think I can speak for the three of us when I say we have a high appreciation for older cars. That's just true.
Well, yeah, like getting in and driving an older car. Not everyone can do it.
That's the thing. And there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that are into cars out there that don't touch anything that's older
Yeah.
than that car's an '05. That's fucking. Oh, that's
Ugh.
ancient.
Yeah.
What?
Well, in a
What?
technology standpoint, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a technology episode. Look when you buy a computer, a regular laptop or desktop computer. They've always said that it is outdated by the time you leave the store with
Yeah.
it.
By the time you buy it.
Yep, it's already out of date.
Yeah.
Something. I mean, look, when you start up a brand new computer, you have all these updates you got to do.
Yeah.
You just bought it. Like, it's crazy. And cars are kind of the same way. There's always something new coming out.
Truth.
Look at cars now. Like, I'll take Kevin's car, the 240, and actually your 911, same thing. You get in, there's no traction control, there's no stability control, there's no power steering, there's no analog brakes, there's no airbags.
Yeah.
That's
You have a car.
you are the driver. You become one with the car. You can't mess up. If you mess up, there's nothing that's going to save you other than your own skill, really. And whatever factory designed safety features were at that time, like
Yeah.
auto tensioning seatbelts, crumple points on cars, structural strong points. But now you get into it, and this is something that you always hear a lot of old timers is, I remember when cars were tanks. You hit a car and it wouldn't be a dent on it. Yeah, but how did the people inside of it fare out?
Yeah. Exactly.
3 broken ribs, lost
Yeah.
my eye, and
Yeah. Exactly.
Lost my eye.
and half my family burned. But other than that, they're not a mark
The
on
car's
the car.
fine. I have nothing to. I don't.
I resold that
That'll
car.
buff out. Like exactly.
But my kids still drive that car. But today, and I guess it is kind of a frustration. You get a small little fender bender with a newer car, a modern car. It's going to look like it just got ran over by a monster truck. But everybody inside, for the most part, maybe you'll have a small bruise from a seatbelt.
Yeah. That's about it.
Maybe a powder burn from an airbag.
Exactly.
That's the most you'll have it. Or you spilled your macchiato.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I'm going to sue Starbucks because I spilled my tea inside my car during an accident because I was texting. But there's a reason why. It's to keep everyone safe inside of it. And then that's airbags, they became standard in like 98, I think? What does it say here? 98 for airbags?
I think that's what it was. It was late 90s.
We keep hitting with 98 here. That's like
Doesn't say when it was.
That was the golden age of vehicle technology, apparently. 98, 99.
airbags everywhere, 1998.
Which is why all the early Millennium cars that had electronics jam-packed into them have so many fucking electrical problems because that was when
that was when
all
it
the
was
shit
first
started.
happening.
When there was a
All
lot
the
of
shit started.
regulation behind that, you had the U.S. government saying you have to have it by this point. So
Yeah, it was
people were
rushed.
rushing to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, European was never, their strong point was never electronics.
Yeah.
But also they didn't have the same regulations in Europe that we do here in the States. And the same thing, vice versa. We have regulations here that they don't have, or they have things that we don't have, Like, we have to have side markers in this country. I would love to know, I would love to know statistically how many accidents have been avoided because
Prevented.
of side markers.
Yeah.
They don't have them in Europe. For the most cars, Europe they don't have the same DOT regulations as we do, and they don't I mean, that's a big thing in the Volkswagen scene is to get rid of side markers. So, but we haven't had side markers on the R32 for a couple of years. I deleted them years ago. And
nobody cares or notices.
I'm not gonna say I haven't been in an accident with it. 'Cause that's just horrible. But it's I don't
Nobody gives a shit.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We have anything else we want to touch on? I mean, the big technology is just the gas engine, gas and diesel. Now we had hybrids boom in '98 with the Toyota Prius.
Close second to the Toyota Echo.
Very close.
For best
Actually,
car ever made.
If you look at a Gen 1 Prius and the Toyota
Don't
Echo,
even say
they
it.
look very close.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, it's not that bad looking.
Well, no, the Echo is not that bad looking, but the Prius is. But no, a Gen 1 Prius, Kevin and I have both been stumped on the road. We're like, oh, look, an Echo. Oh, no, it's a Prius. Because the Gen 1 they look horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
They still do.
They always will. No, I'm sorry.
But look at now. Toyota came out with a car now that's nitrogen. Yes, they aired it during the Super Bowl.
Really?
I wanted to talk about this earlier.
What?
Yeah, hold on a second. Toyota. It has a weird name. Nitrogen.
Nitro?
No, hydrogen. Sorry, not nitrogen.
Hydrogen. Okay.
Okay, that makes
Did I
a little
say
more sense.
nitrogen?
You said nitrogen. I'm like, that
Fuck.
doesn't make... Okay.
It is a Toyota Mirai. 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 It's a hydrogen fuel cell.
Okay.
Mirai? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't want to my cable here, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks
It's actually not a decent. It's
not a bad looking
Prius
car.
with a
It's a
Lexus front end.
It's a Toyota. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, look at it. It's not that. Just look at it. It's not.
When I see a car like that,
I just look at it. But they're starting at 57,000.
What? Get the fuck... Exactly. For that.
Yeah, you're saying for that it's a car that its output is water.
I know that, but still...
There's a price to saving the earth.
It's
I'm being
not
dead
affo-
serious.
It's not
I mean,
affordable to
no,
people
it's
at this
not.
point.
I
That's
know.
the problem.
But you have to start somewhere. The hybrid had to start somewhere. I would love to know what a Prius started out as for their MSRP.
It was money, and it's definitely a lot less
Yeah,
now.
it's very affordable now. Hybrids, it's not just them. Almost every manufacturer has a hybrid. So, Toyota really pioneered the way that way.
Yeah.
And Tesla, I think, is probably the big EV car right now to beat. And they're getting better every day. And again, that's a whole episode in itself, which I'd love to do. Both my uncle and my brother have put interest into this and then into that topic, so I think we'll have to. But
for sure. Yeah.
But look, that's technology. That's going to take a lot longer to fine tune and to make affordable and longevity. The big thing with electric cars is the range is not as long as a typical combustion vehicle.
Well, Chevy just announced not too long ago about their new car, the Bolt EV car.
Well, they had the Volt.
They had the Volt, but look up the Chevy Bolt.
I think I did hear about this Chevy Bolt.
Something about like over 200 miles
EV,
of range or something like that. So
238 on battery only.
Yeah, which
for
is
$36,000.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
So you're talking about affordability with a range that's really, really impressive. This is not just people that are just like living in the city, like driving 20 miles here and there.
Which is typically, and another big thing too is the recharge time. That is probably where the biggest advancement for electronic cars has to come, because no one has an hour to recharge their car. Especially if you're, I mean, you can make time, but it takes 5 minutes to gas your car up. Obviously it's going to take longer than 5 minutes to charge your car, but that's actually a big advancement that has come with electric cars is the charge time.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla has their supercharger, which it can pump out pretty quick.
Yeah, I think a couple of manufacturers have like a quick charge option where I don't know how much time it is, but like you can get a pretty good charge from a dead battery with a short amount of time. But then ideally you want to charge it all the way up, and that takes time.
Yeah,
so.
Like any battery, if you constantly top off, you're shorting the battery life. It's good to run it dry or close to dry, and then recharge it in order to maintain the life of it. But and actually, one thing nice about Tesla is they're actually there are chargers. They're putting them everywhere. There's one off of Tillman at the AMC and the Red Robin up by the Turnpike. They have like 10 chargers just sitting by the Red Robin. So, it makes sense because it's off the Turnpike. So you can get off the Turnpike, go plug it in, go grab a bite to eat, come back out, hop back on the road.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And apparently my brother was telling me that you don't pay for the electric. Like if you
Like
go
at
to
the charging station?
You don't. It's part of the car. You buy the car.
Oh,
you
wow.
get to use their charging stations for free. So think of the equivalent of like you buy a car and you get free gas for life. The life that you own the car. Like that's pretty awesome. So
Sure.
yeah, it says this bolt's at $37,495, and then you get a tax credit. So it's $29,995. So $30,000 after federal tax credit.
That's not bad. That actually really isn't bad at all.
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
People spend $30,000 nowadays
Yeah.
for a car. That's
There's a lot of tax credits out there for like solar panels or electric cars, which is nice. They keep fluctuating, and there should be an incentive to switch over.
absolutely.
Because yeah, I mean, despite what any person in power thinks, the world is getting warmer. Whether it is man-made or not, it is getting warmer, and we are polluting it, and man is responsible for this, for a good chunk of it, despite what anyone thinks. This is the way of the future. We really need to take that into consideration. I don't want to sound like some hippy-dippy tree hugger here, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I would like a world to be around for my kids to grow up and grow old in, and that's only going to happen if we really start taking control of what we're putting into the air.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not doing it any good by having a catless 6-cylinder sitting in the garage right now.
Well, at least I know what I'm doing.
But
he
damn it,
lives on both sides.
but
of it.
damn it, I care, and that's all that matters.
He's aware of it.
I don't deny it. So,
Well, even if you don't care at all about the environment, like put that aside.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's really true that you have use of those charging stations for free,
yeah,
It's a
economics.
saver. It's a money saver.
It
Yeah.
is. And Tesla has ways for you to, so when if I'm correct, you can buy a Tesla, bring it home, and you can use a regular wall jack to charge your car.
Yeah.
It's going to take longer, but then they have, I believe there's 2 upgrade chargers. There's a low, the standard one, a medium one, and then the supercharger, I believe, is the one that you can charge in like a half an hour. It's super quick.
That's really impressive. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're on a trip, that's a stop for food.
I mean, you do
know?
have to
Yeah.
you have to pay for that.
Yeah,
if you're going to put it in your home, but if you're out driving around, and you come across one of those chargers, it is free to use. But I don't know if the plugs are specific for Tesla, but yeah, their business plan. If you ever have a chance to read up on Tesla's business plan, it's amazing what they want to do. And God, I hope it does get somewhere. I really do. So, so do we want to talk about any technology that's like what is hot today? We talked about. Do you remember? We talked about that, but what's hot today? We got radar cruise control, which is nice. I know we talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, the big topic that I found was it's kind of tied into GPS. It's kind of tied into like adaptive suspension. But a lot of car manufacturers right now are actually the big thing with autonomous vehicles right now is, well, how do they work when there's adverse weather conditions? So
Yeah.
a lot of them will use like some combination of a camera system, some combination of radar, and some combination of LiDAR to see exactly what's going on and to tell the car what to do.
What's LiDAR?
I guess when I looked it up, it was like, so radar is radio wave based. And LiDAR is like light wave.
So it's using other sensors to bounce, kind of like I want to say similar to sonar, but with light. It's bouncing light instead of sound. or
Exactly.
instead of
Which
radio
means
waves.
it's quicker.
That's
Yeah.
my understanding of not.
Yeah, because the speed of light is much quicker than anything else.
Yeah. So anyway, the topic with autonomous vehicles is, well, okay, there's all of these tools that are kind of looking at what's going on in the road in front of you. But what happens when there's 3 inches of snow on the ground, and all of a sudden those cameras can't see where the lanes
Yeah.
are, and it becomes a little bit harder for the system to work. So the thing that I read online, one of the resources that I trusted, said that a lot of manufacturers are actually like physically mapping every single road, every single place where you can go, so that they can detect like where signs are, where obstacles are, where curbs are.
It's intense.
So.
And to go further with that, not only are they doing that, but they have these coders. Well, I'll just say engineers for sake of a word. They have all these engineers who are taking input from the cars and they're modifying it. So the equipment's constantly learning. So they'll go, okay, it reacted this way. This is not how we want it to react. So we'll tweak this little code, and then the next time. So it's a constant evolution. They're going to have to adapt because, and if you think about it, the human brain, what we can do as a driver. What a good driver can do on the road. Think about all the inputs and outputs you have to do. You're looking at the car in front of you, and you have to react to a light that comes on for a brake light. In that second, you have to hit the brake pedal, maybe turn, but you also have to check your mirrors. All these inputs that you have to do in order to make a proper decision, a computer has to do that. And we all know computers can be faster than humans. So there's going to be a lot of growing pains in it. And actually, there haven't been that many recorded accidents comparatively between human and autonomous. The autonomous has actually had less than humans. Now, granted, the numbers are skewed, so I think you have to do it like per capita or whatever. But it's a growing pain, but it's going to be great. It really is.
Yeah.
It's the future, people. Don't get in the way of change because it's going to happen. Don't fight it. And we should want it. There are so many good uses for it. I mean, you could argue on autonomous, but I mean, it could make the road safer.
Sure.
It could.
Yeah. I mean, computer power right now is doing things like through like stability control, through a lot of features that your car already has today.
Yep.
It's just using that type of capability to
do
other things
without your input.
Without your input.
Yeah. There's so much that we take for granted. Like stability control is the big one. You're going around a turn, and especially if you have an all-wheel drive vehicle that's trying to divvy your power and your braking and all you're doing is putting your foot on the gas and turning the wheel. But the car is doing so much more to keep you going where you want to go.
Right.
So now it's just a matter of having a vehicle replace you.
Yeah.
And doing that.
Or at least be able to intervene on your behalf for your safety.
That too.
Like nobody's going to sit there and be like, I don't want, Volkswagen is really well known for their stability control being through the braking system as well. So nobody's going to complain and say, "Hey, I went into this turn too fast.
Yeah.
I'm understeering like crazy."
Well, because it's reactive, not proactive.
Right.
And that's the big thing. As humans, we're usually reactive as a driver, I think.
That's pretty accurate. You can be proactive to a certain extent, but
you can.
But your
I think the average person
from,
is not. If you take the average driver, you're going to have people who are more proactive that are going to skew the numbers, and people who are super reactive skewing the numbers. But I think the average person is right in the middle of proactive and reactive. But I think that's the point. The computer is going to be proactive, but it needs to what they're trying to fine tune is the reactive part.
Yeah.
Because it has to think.
Yeah. What do I do? Which
is going to be based off of statistics and driving data. They have to write, like I said, they have to rewrite it to think like a person. So, hey, the people that are making this possible, man.
Hats off. On you. Hats off.
They make more money than I ever will in my lifetime.
For sure.
And there's a reason for it. I'm sitting in a basement recording a podcast.
What are you doing?
They're keeping a car going straight without someone doing it. So, yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
So technology of today. Yeah.
What's some really cool technology that you guys would look forward to that doesn't like get too creepy or like too outside the box?
What we'd like to see have done?
Yeah, like things that you think like, hey, within the next 10 years, this would be.
Oh, you want predictions?
Yeah.
Ooh, we've never done a prediction on the show before.
No.
Put me on the spot. Jeez.
I don't know. I don't really know if I'm honestly perfectly content with things the way they are. And it's going to continue changing and it's going to continue improving. But I don't know if there's anything else that I would really want. I had no complaints about having technology or not having technology in any older car that I've owned. It never bothered me.
Well, it's because we've owned old cars.
Yeah,
so
it never bothered me.
It's easy for us to be complacent. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, even after now owning a newer car or multiple newer cars now, if I had to go back to an older car, I still don't think I would have much of a problem with it. I don't know. Maybe I would miss like a heated seat here and there.
Like creature comfort things.
Creature comfort things.
Yeah.
But as far as everything else, I don't really particularly care much. It doesn't really matter to me.
I'm trying to think.
I feel like I'm just kind of indifferent to change. Whether it happens or it doesn't, I'm okay with it either way. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm trying to think, where do you go after autonomous car? Like, what is after that?
Teleporting.
I predict Star Trek in 10 years. Beat me up, Scotty. No,
time travel. Flying cars.
Well, I don't see. I mean, flying cars do exist. They're called planes.
Touche.
And there are drivers for those. They're called pilots. No, I don't know. Where do you go after self-driving cars and electric vehicles? I mean, I would say, I mean, I really do feel in the next 10 years that technology will be commonplace. Electric vehicles will have a better range in definitely in 10 years' time. Definitely.
In 10 years' time, there may be a somewhat noticeable or significant decrease in gas cars. There may be.
I hope. And that sounds very counterintuitive for someone who is
A car guy.
a gearhead. You know,
Yeah.
it sounds very counterintuitive. And actually, I did have someone pose this question to me once. Like, okay, you like cars. What if the government told you weren't allowed to have a gas-powered car and you had to switch to electric? I don't think that will happen.
The thing, I
Kind of
feel
like,
like
we're not forced to give up 56 Cadillacs. We're not forced to give.
But you know
those
what?
up.
I honestly think that I'm hoping. My prediction is, and I'm hoping this will become true. That electric cars, or whatever the future holds, hydrogen power cars, whatever it may
Hydrogen would be awesome.
be. Hydrogen will be awesome. So any whatever alternative fueling cars or alternative motion cars, whatever you want to call them, will become mainstream to the point where you, as a car enthusiast, can still own a gas-powered car as a recreational vehicle and not have to worry.
I think it's going to turn into
Do you know what I mean?
having a sidecar.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like look at now.
For the track day, for the event, you have that car. Gas will probably eventually become more difficult to acquire, I'm sure, however many years down the line. It's possible.
That's what I worry about. If we constantly go with electronic cars becoming mainstream and more commonplace, that's going to come down to supply and demand thing. So what's that going to do to gas and oil?
Yeah.
It's going to make it go up.
Yeah.
Just less people will be using it, and it will become more expensive.
But at the point, if it drives down the price, a lot of people, I feel like,
am I doing that right? Is that the right
I
direction?
think you might have got it.
Yeah.
Opposite.
It'll become cheaper because no one's using it.
If nobody's using it,
It'll become cheaper.
Maybe it will become cheaper.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's using common sense. It is the government we're talking about.
yeah, exactly.
demand would be down, so supply would be
Right.
up. So it should become cheaper.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
in that hypothetical.
Yeah, but look at it though. When the gas was when we had those the gas boom when prices were skyrocketing up to 4, the demand was still there, but the price was going up, but the supply was going down.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, hybrids and things like that were way less common.
True.
yeah.
So
True.
everybody, high demand, low supply. Prices went
So
up.
yeah,
I think
that
can,
would be ideal. I
yeah.
feel like that would be pretty cool if you could you could still be a car guy to a certain extent, where you have your gas powered car and you can take it to a track day, you can take it to an event, you can take it to a car show, a meet, whatever you want to do, or just take it around the block or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Essentially, take like prime example would be like I'm going to use Kevin here, but Kevin having a modern Jetta as his daily driver, and he has a race car as a sidecar, as a side piece, as his side chick, and but fast forward 10 years, now you're
a race car though, but okay.
I'm
keep going.
just
Fast forward
I'm
a few
saying.
years. Now he has a Toyota Echo.
No, the Toyota Echo will be his sidecar. No, but it's going to be now your primary car is going to be something more like electric. Let's just use an electric car, and then your side car that you can go have fun with will be, I don't know, like a 2010 or a 2012 petrol car. So yeah, I think my prediction, and I hope it's true, that range on electric cars will become much more common to what a petrol car is.
Mm-hmm.
Charging is the big thing. I want to see charging be more.
Well, it's going to become more accessible and it's going to become quicker. Like, that's inevitable.
But Jeremy Clarkson talked about this with electric cars. We have to have the infrastructure to be able to back that up. So being able to produce the power in order to charge a whole country full of electric cars. So I would love to see that.
But that in itself can bring in jobs.
It can, but what do you have? You have to cut something. You have to get rid of something. We essentially have to turn in, but there are so many ways to do it. We just have to get people on board, like solar.
Yeah.
Solar power is massive.
Why isn't it happening?
Why isn't it more mainstream? My brother has panels on his house. He essentially can roll. I think he has said that his meter has gone backwards times because it can produce so much and then puts it back out on the grid.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, up until I'm not sure if I'm 100% right on this, but I think up until like a few years ago, maybe like 10, 15 years ago, solar, like just solar power technology
Yeah.
wasn't really that efficient.
No,
No.
it
So
wasn't.
It's gotten so much better
Yes.
that it is becoming a real.
And slightly more affordable. I know, but again, I based off of my brother's experience, he got a huge kickback from the government because he bought
into that.
There was that tax
yeah.
credit you got back. So after it was all said and done, I think he ended up paying like half of what it would have been retail because of the tax credit. I would love to see solar on cars. Make a whole roof out of solar. Even it won't be able to produce.
They make roads out of solar in certain countries in Europe already.
I mean, it won't be able to produce power for the entire car, but things like your accessories.
It's utilizing a free energy source.
Exactly, kind of like regenerative braking, which we could have talked about for this technology episode, where it uses the friction of your braking, which you have to do in your car, and it sends electric back into it's a charge, and it goes back into the battery to be then used later, which I think for regenerative braking is only used to power accessories, I believe.
Oh.
I think, depending on the manufacturer. If I remember my Volkswagen hybrid training well, because the Volkswagen hybrid Jetta, that used regenerative braking as well. And their brakes were super touchy because of it. It was really weird.
Because it was a Volkswagen.
No, like if you put a hybrid and non-hybrid together next to each other, the hybrid brakes were always super touchy. But nobody bought the Jetta hybrids.
I don't know why, because they're nice cars.
You lose trunk space. The price too.
Yeah.
The price was super expensive on the Jetta hybrid, but I think in my time at Young,
You didn't sell any.
one, and it was a fluke. And the guy came back and traded it in.
He didn't even want a hybrid.
He came from a TDI. He came from a diesel,
Ah, okay.
and he went to the hybrid.
Makes sense.
Hated the way because if you've driven a diesel once, and you like it, you'll never like anything other than that. It's a lot. It's hard to get used to something else when you've driven a TDI. You have that low end torque, tons of torque, great fuel mileage on the highway.
Electric cars are really torquey though, so you might appreciate
look
that.
at the Tesla, the insanity mode when you launch them. 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds or something like that, out of his family sedan.
Yeah. What?
Ryan, who was on the last 2 shows, he not his boss, his girlfriend's boss has a Tesla with it, and he said being in it with 4 adults and doing it, all you hear is tire.
Yeah.
There's like
no other noise.
It's just. It's so weird. I couldn't. I haven't. I'd love to be in one and actually to
See
experience
what it's all
that.
about.
Yeah. Well, okay. We can wrap up this section of technology here, and we'll move on to what did you do this week?
So what did you do?
Why do I gotta go first?
Fine, I'll go first.
Let's be good hosts and say Jeremy gets to go first.
What did you do this week, Jeremy?
Car related, I really didn't do anything. Like I said, I'd have to go back to the story that I already told about going to see Kevin at Kresge to do the exhaust on the 911.
Which again, it's kind of skewed because we're recording early. But it's okay. It's okay. We're telling everyone we're recording this early.
You can get that in editing.
Yeah.
No.
No, I'll keep it.
No, that's fine. Ain't no thing.
I mean, that's the most significant thing that I've done
Recently.
Yeah. And the kind of the cherry on top to that visit to Kresge that I don't think I brought up before is I actually got to see Kacper's Volvo over there as well.
I don't know if I would call that a cherry on top of anything. A cherry on top of a pile of shit, honestly.
It's a maraschino cherry just soaked.
Thank you.
Soaked in formaldehyde.
But you mentioned that you did like the way it looked, so I do appreciate
No,
that.
no, it was. I mean, they had a 928 over there as well. You don't really see a lot of those. There was a super clean.
I hate the 928.
It's very polarizing car because people either love them or they hate them.
Well, there was a split. They did a motor change, and the newer one was apparently a lot more fun to drive, but it was probably the most uneventful drive I've ever experienced in a Porsche, at least. Very bland. I mean, it's a V8, but you can get the same thrill driving a Ford Econoline van.
That's the driving experience you would equate it to.
Honestly, Kevin told me I wasn't going to be impressed when I got in it. I'm like, whatever, Kevin. What do you know? And I got in. I came back, and I must have had the weirdest look on my face. And Kevin's like, what did I say? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, it was interesting. It definitely was like the most un-Porsche-like Porsche they made, I think. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I like them from a design standpoint. I've never driven one, but
they are interesting. Yeah.
I just like the car. So it was cool to see that. They had a really cool bus over there.
They always have a van or bus there. Oh, no, they do have an old bus. They have an old bus there. That's
Yeah,
right.
an old brown bus. The guy
Yeah.
is from, I guess, Alaska, and like he and his wife go
Yes.
camping in it. Super clean.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to see the Volvo. Hoping that it gets all put back together and
I don't know.
I hope you don't give up on it, Cassie.
I don't know.
And then always great to see Kevin and Dave over there too.
Of course.
So that's my story.
Shout out to the human DSG.
Hey,
There's
yeah.
only one.
There's only one. There can only be one.
that can only be one.
Highland. I mean Kevin.
But yeah, for me, so I went through. This week was pretty much just a back and forth process with the engine company, who now claims that they will. I claims that they will refund me the price of labor and the motor, and possibly the turbo that was blown because of the motor twice. So I'm just that on that end. That's pretty much it. And then
Your move company.
and
Your
then-
move warranty company.
And other than that, Christoph and I pretty much just did a little bit of Wookiees prep with brake fluid flush on my car. And
Yep, we replaced your brand new spark plugs with new spark plugs.
yeah, so basically, it's kind of like a bittersweet because I purchased the car and I didn't have that much of a history on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I probably should have asked, but literally everything that we've had replaced,
Except
other than the fuel filter, was
yeah.
replaced when I
Was already brand
was
new.
already brand
Yeah,
new.
we did the Halodex fluid, that was clean. We did the diff fluid, that was clean.
Oil,
Oil just
oil just needed to be done. What the fuck else?
coolant was good. We said
Cam
not to do
follower
it.
wasn't bad. Coolant
Yeah,
wasn't bad. There was no reason to.
Fuel filter was the only thing that had some oxidation on the filter,
Yeah.
so I know
And
that
then the
wasn't
plugs
done.
were brand fucking new.
Yeah, plugs
Wow.
were new.
So
Yeah, we just took the plugs. We put new ones in anyway because we're doing the
it's
trip
already
anyway.
here,
So
yeah.
You
Um,
could take them out and just put them in the glove box though.
Yeah, I thought they're in the car. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in
yeah,
the
you
car.
can keep spare. Yeah,
And
nice.
then the brake fluid
brake
on your
fluid.
car.
Yep. Well, we did brake fluid on yours, which
Yeah.
the brake fluid that came out was good.
Yeah, it was.
But
it was
we
fresh.
replaced it. We replaced the OEM fluid with Liquid
Moly
Moly
Race.
Racing brake fluid.
Oh, nice.
just to avoid any kind of brake fade, or potential, or do my best to avoid brake fade.
Yeah, just a higher
Do you need,
boiling
do you need
point.
the brakes down there, Tail of the Dragon?
It really depends on your driving style. In
Yeah.
theory, you should be engine braking. You shouldn't. The speed limit is 30 miles an hour on the road. I'll say that. The
And you
speed limit
can
is 30
honestly
miles
have a
an hour.
blast at the speed limit.
Oh yeah,
Like a
you absolutely
blast.
can. Even if you do 5 over the posted, you definitely, which I think is legal limit you can get away with, is 5 over in any state for the most part. But at 30, you'll still have to use the brakes, but it's very easy to get caught up in. Well, this is fun. Well, I could just go a little faster.
Yeah.
It's not legal. But no, I have gotten fade one time
Last year,
and was not proud of it. I was booking quite a bit.
that was on one of the fastest.
It was the fastest 30 miles an hour I've ever done. But yeah, you should be doing, and like we discussed, I don't know if we were recording at that point before we started recording. You're staying in second and third gear most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You're in a good place.
if you're in second gear and you're winding it out and then you come right back to another turn, you just let off and it's going to hold itself,
Yeah.
which is nice. But
Yeah.
it's always nice to have that reassurance that if you do have to really use the brakes, you have a higher boiling point fluid that's not going to fade.
Yeah, so my,
Yeah.
my brakes
Yeah.
are stock, and they're not bad, but they're not great. So
Yeah.
eventually I'll probably, I don't know, maybe if brakes might be one thing.
Well, you're
that
going to have to replace them.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm saying I might do something other. Like I've pretty much told myself that I'm not going to modify this car. I'm just going to keep it as is. But brakes might be one thing that
Well, I'll tell you.
I might go slightly better than OEM just
Yeah.
for rotors and pads.
With the Golf R and R32 platform, I'd say the best factory setup to keep on that car, it's fairly stock. You can use the OEM rotors, so brand new OEM rotors. Get yourself a nice pad. I like EBC red stuff.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that pad. It's a good daily / if you want to have some fun pad. And then Tyrol or Tyrol Sport, however you want to
Yeah,
pronounce them. I've been told I was wrong. The Tyrol Sport makes their brake stiffening kit for the slide guide for the guides in the front.
Yeah.
That makes it it's a rigid collar instead of a rubber bushing, so it really tightens it all up. And then stainless lines.
Yeah.
That's all you need on that car
That'll
for
tighten it up.
a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
A lot. You'll notice a
Yeah.
huge difference on that car. And you're still maintaining your stock
Yeah.
calipers.
Yeah.
You're not going crazy.
Everything's
on
being
it.
replaced as
Yeah.
stock.
Especially if you
essentially.
already have to buy that stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You already have to
Yeah.
buy it. Just spend a little more and upgrade. You
Yeah.
know, pads. Actually, I don't think they're too much more than
No,
OEM
they're not.
pads.
They're really not. They're not bad at all.
And then fluid, but you already have the fluid done. So
Yeah.
yeah. So and I also did. I did the brake fluid on the R32 with you. So that was good. I already had the liquid moly fluid. It was
Yeah.
just old. It needed to be replaced. It was probably I pushed it a little too long. I
Like
think
beyond like 2 years.
I did 2 years.
Okay.
But that's 2 trips
That's
to
2
Wookiees.
trips to Wookiees,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
you know.
So
You used it.
Oh, did I use it too? Yeah, 15 and 16. I went down on that fluid.
Yeah.
And last year I had the fade, so that was one time. So I know we discussed this with Kevin. I know there's an actual set time period you're supposed to change brake fluid if you do any sort of tracking events, but I don't.
Yeah, or even if you don't, just because that fluid like draws in.
Yeah, there is OEM time limits you're supposed to change down because it eventually breaks down. The chemical properties after being heated, like anything, you chemically heat it up and cool it down, the properties change on anything. And then moisture can gather inside the lines as well too. That degrades it. And if you have rubber lines, they expand and contract, so the rubber will eventually deteriorate as well too, which is why stainless lines are a huge upgrade because it keeps it tight like a tiger.
Tight.
Tight like a toy. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to do for Wookiees prep. Even though Wookiees just happened.
Even though
this weekend.
But yeah, no, I honestly really was. I might message the guy with the CHs and ask him the same question, just because I would feel much more comfortable having a set of summer tires, and I'd spend the money, and then I'd probably just sell them anyway afterwards because that's what I'm doing with these wheels. So I might consider it. It'll look nice for the event. It'll look cool, and on top of it, I'll have a little bit more. Confidence in the fact that I have a tire that's not gonna fucking whatever. I've been pushing these just to see like where that threshold is, like especially in the wet. Like I've just been coming around corners.
I think we're gonna get some rain this year down.
Yeah, we might.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Tuesday, Wednesday, I think it was.
Well, last year was the first year at Wookiees that I've been to. This will be my 5th year going. Last year was the first year where we did not have any rain during the day. It all happened at night, and the morning was good to go. We've had lots of years where it rains at least one day. It's kind of like H2O. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna rain.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna rain.
It gonna rain. Who dog is this? So I think we're gonna experience. I think we're gonna actually, from look at the forecast, we're gonna drive down in the rain, or we did drive down in the rain. This whole recording prior to is weird, but
I'm really jealous of the time that you guys had. Sad I wasn't able to be a part of it.
Man, we should have talked this before we went. It would be really cool if we talked about this before.
I feel like your car probably will be a fun one to have down there too, because it's at a
911?
good. Yeah.
Oh,
it's at a good power range.
We have Mike Bell. He brings his 996. I think this is his 3rd year bringing the 996 turbo down to it, or up to it. He lives in Florida, so he comes up to it.
Yeah, that car has to be a blast.
Yeah,
down there.
I think he just has a tune, straight pipes, and an intake. I think which is all you really need on a 911 turbo, really, and tires and all the supporting mods. But last year there was a 99. What was down there? Was a red one. Was that 996 or? No, you don't. Why am I looking at you? You don't know Porsche.
I don't know Porsche for
There was
shit.
a Beetle.
Yeah, that's literally not.
I think there was.
It was a Carrera 4S 930 GT.
I could be wrong. It was either a 964. I think it was a 964. I don't think it wasn't a 930. It might have been a 964.
I think it was a 964 and a half because it was that one split year. Fucking.
It was super clean, which is really nice. So I would imagine that car would be a blast.
Yeah.
Rear engine, rear drive, going around those turns.
Plus, there's actually going to be a big slew of supercars that are down there at the same time.
Oh, like another rally. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that might be bitter. I'm hoping the crowd is a responsible crowd, because that could be a bittersweet thing with people with supercars on a road like that don't really know what to do with supercars. So I'm hoping that everybody's pretty sensible, because if they're sensible and they're awesome drivers and they're I'm not saying everybody. There's always going to be people that have
assholes in every
and
group.
stuff.
I mean,
But hopefully it'll be a nice experience, because it will definitely be a cool group of cars to look at and be there with.
Which has been one nice.
The noises are going to be fantastic for sure.
Going to Wookiees is always nice because it's never. Yeah, it's a big Golf R R32 event.
There's always something else that's cool there. Yeah.
I think the first year I went, it was what was there? I'm trying to think. Well, the second year I went, 2013, that was a Hyundai group. There was the Genesis, the Gen Coupes, so the 3.8s and the 2.0s. They were down there.
Yep.
There was one year where it was Crossfire. I think that was my first year with the Chrysler Crossfires, and I didn't know they had an AMG counterpart. AMG dabbled there. Well, that was the whole Daimler Chrysler AMG.
There's a guy that lives out by me who has his built by Mercedes badge.
Yeah.
on his Crossfire.
Was it really or no? It's just a badge.
It's like a badge or a sticker.
So,
No
but
bullshit.
is his really made by them, or did he just buy the badge and stick it on? Kind of like 3 Series people just get an M badge and stick it on.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I have no idea if it was a factory,
But I
thing
know
or
they
not,
they
but-
did do that.
Yeah. But because it was in Chrysler's, like Mercedes-Benz, Daimler,
Yeah.
Chrysler era, I guess he felt justified.
Well, yeah.
Well, I didn't know that was a thing until we were down there. I'm like, oh, look at this guy with a Chrysler Crossfire with an AMG badge on it.
And then somebody was like, dude, it's actually.
And then he pulled up, and actually the group I was with had no idea. They were like, oh, shit, this is a real thing. So apparently they were pretty nice. I never looked into them after that because I didn't care. And then, so that was 12, 13, 15 was, what was in the 15s? Last year was what? That was...
16.
Oh, no, but I'm good with numbers.
Last year was Mazda.
Ma-
It was
Yeah,
RX. It
a
was
rotary.
It was a rotary.
It was a rotary year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was nice.
That's cool. Yeah.
I can't remember what was 2015. I don't remember what was down there for that.
You said there was a Volvo one too at one point, wasn't there? Like a C30 one or something?
Maybe I'm getting my years. Yeah, there was a Volvo one, so maybe that was 15. Yeah, because you guys didn't go for 15.
No.
Yeah, I think 15 might have been the Volvo ones. A lot of what C30 is that the 2-door coupe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
They're
hatch,
kind of.
yeah.
I like.
No,
them.
they're dope cars.
they look
They're really
nice.
cool cars.
So like Wookiees is the constant that weekend, and then other things just kind of.
Yeah, there's always an event. There's always they have hot rod weeks. There's always, if you look at their calendars for down there, for all the events that are going on,
It's every weekend.
there's something every week. Yeah, every week. And but it's nice, so you don't have to go there and look. Oh, look, an R32. Oh, look, an R32.
Yeah.
Oh, look, an all-wheel drive GTI. Oh, look.
Touche.
I mean, Golf R. It's nice. You can see something else. So having this, I don't know if there's going to be another event down there,
Yeah.
and the supercar thing is in addition, or if they are the other event that's going to be going on.
Either way, it's going to be a good time for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, it'll be nice.
Actually,
So,
it was a
great
fantastic time. It was a great time.
I'm not editing this
that
out.
one supercar.
I'm leaving this in.
How about that one supercar with the colors and the exhaust and such?
It was
man.
It was very carish.
Yeah.
I liked that it had wheels on it,
yeah.
and the tires
that,
were
that
rubber.
thing.
Whoa.
That thing it did. Remember
With the power. and
It went.
such.
It went down. And
after it went up.
it went It was on the road.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
Fantastic.
We all liked it.
We did.
Everybody looked.
There we all looked at it. And then we're going to close up with the co-driver of the week. Actually, let me see if anyone on Instagram said they did anything this week. We have Josh here. He said I traveled this week, so I didn't do much with the car. He's like, I did spend a weekend without children and just his wife, which is awesome. That's one big thing about Wookiees that's big for me and Crystal is we get to get away from the kids for a little bit. Hey, every parent loves their kids, or they should. And but sometimes you just need a break. When you're with them every day in and day out, you just need a break. So my wife and I have been together for 12 years, and we've been married for 9. I had to think what year it was.
Oh, editing is wonderful, isn't
I
it?
had to think about what year it was. Yeah, so we've been married for 9 years, and we've had kids for 7 years. So it's nice to be able to get. That's the one constant about Wookiees is going down. Just the two of us. And everybody else, but no kids. I would love to bring Chloe someday. I think she would love it, but 11-hour drive with kids. I don't even want to do a 2-hour drive with kids sometimes. But so yeah, what Josh said is so he didn't do much with the car, but he did have a weekend without the children, and it was just him and his wife. That's all I have here. So we're gonna do. I'm trying to see
Co-driver
here.
of the week.
Yeah, but hang on a second. See, he's also nominating a co-driver of the week, but we have a guest here. Usually the guest should always do the co-driver of the week.
We can save that for another one.
Well, no, because you already said your dad is really what got you in to cars, so I would imagine you'd nominate your dad for co-driver of the week. I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boom. He's been
So
nominated.
go with another one.
Okay, so we're now going to do the co-driver of the week. So we have Josh. Josh, his Instagram handle is VDubFamily. I actually met Josh through the Passat community. He's one of the non-douchebags on the forums. Very informative guy. The Passat forum is weird, man. I can't even go into that. But very awesome guy. I believe he's a chef, if I remember correctly.
That's pretty cool.
So I love anyone that loves food.
Facts.
Very near and dear to my heart. So he said this week. So let's see. I'm going to read what he said. I traveled this week, so didn't do much with the car, but I did spend a weekend without children, just my wife and I. It really hit home that she is my co-pilot and has been on so many journeys and for so long now. She puts up with the thousands of dollars and hours I've spent on cars and Jeeps, and she still stands by me. I love her and could not have made it here without her. Thank you, Amy. So this one goes out to Amy. I believe
Awesome.
it's
Awesome.
Josh Drummond is his name, so I'm assuming it's Amy Drummond. I could be wrong, but yeah. And honestly, that's a prime example why I wanted to do this little segment.
Yeah,
is
that's pretty
that
dope.
It's not always who gets you into cars; it's who stands by you as well too. And you never know when that support is going to keep you going.
Yeah.
Even when you want to quit. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Cheers.
Spouse of the car enthusiast, you the real
Saint.
MVP.
Yeah.
Saint. And actually, I know Charles, Humble Mechanic. He was doing a live video this week, and I was communicating with him on that. And he had said the same thing about his wife. You know, these people are saints for doing what they do. In our case, it's kids and still supporting me with all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've managed to now start a business based on cars, and she still supports me with that. So, that's awesome. So cheers to you, Amy. And that's good. So if you guys have a co-driver of the week that you want to nominate, go on to thebeardeddetailer.com/gearshift and let us know. You can send a little personal story about that. I know I nominated my dad. Ryan nominated his dad. Josh is nominating his wife. So if you want to nominate anyone, send it in. Please don't disclose any personal information like social security numbers,
We'll omit it. That's fine.
bank account. Oh, no, I'm reading word for word.
Oh, okay.
So if you put it in there, I'm reading it. Josh also mentions his wife's social security number is 1 2. Yeah, let us know. Or you can email us if you're traditional. Go to email and gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to mail us your co-driver of the week, the address is, so send it to Gearshift, 6224 Hall Court, Center Valley, Pennsylvania, 18034, and you can send us some snail mail.
And that's
I thought you meant actually put the person in the mail.
I do.
Send it.
I mean, we
Like
could
put
do
a
that
couple
too.
holes in the box.
I will. I don't recommend it. However, the story will be that much better. Oh, I'm so tired.
Well then. And on that note,
Yes. Thank you all for listening. Please be sure to share on Facebook, on Instagram. Let everyone know that you like this show, and let them decide. Let them decide if they want to waste an hour or so of their time with us. We'd really appreciate you spending that time with us, and we do appreciate the time that you do spend with us. Be sure to let us know if you have any questions, comments, feedback. Feedback is huge. We need to know. If you like something or don't like something, we need to know. We have made changes due to feedback, and we will continue to make changes due to feedback. It's very important, so let us know. If you need to email us, gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com.
I just noticed that I can do that. It's pretty cool. Okay.
We're on Instagram, Gearshift Podcast, Twitter, Gearshift PC. We're on iTunes. That's the stinger. Also, if you have a connection with Kia,
Please,
and you can get us.
we really want to drive this
not
thing.
giving up on that?
No, we want to do a full review of the Kia Stinger, preferably the V6,
Oh, yeah.
but we'll take anything if you have a hookup.
Have you written to Kia yet?
No,
No,
I
we
think
need
that
to.
will be next. And we actually, I'm going to wait till it actually happens, but we are going to be featured on another podcast that actually has quite a listenership. So
Yep.
Cool.
I sent in a little promo, so that I will let everyone know when that does air, so you can go check that out.
Yep.
But that's it. That's all we got time for.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining. And Jeremy, I appreciate you and your willingness to come sit with us and be our guest host.
Well, hey, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
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 Pleasure being here. Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Cheers. Wait, cheers. What? Oh, over there.
One more in the back. No, okay.
Hang on. Wait. Got it. Okay.
Swag. All right.
That was for old time's sake. So, all right. Well, until next week, which, I should tell everybody what next week's episode is going to be. Oh, no. Next week's episode is going to be our Wookiees in the Woods recap. We have some interviews that we're going to do down there. We have an interview with Abe, who's been the coordinator down there. And I know we have Humble Mechanic wants to spend some time with us, too. So if you guys found us at Wookiees, you will hear us. It's so hard to do. If you found us at Wookiees and you managed to talk to us, you're going to hear yourself next week on the episode. So we'll do our recap. And then after that, when is our episode after the Wookiees recap? Because I want to share fresh content here. So It'll be automotive detailing. Will be April 24th, episode 15, and we'll have a guest host of Louis Villes from Chicago, from Automobile Day Spa.
Ooh.
He'll be phoning in on Skype.
Lit.
So that's all we have time for.
Awesome.
Until next time. Bye now.
Take care.
No, see you next week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
Gear Shift Podcast is a production of Gear Shift. If you have any questions, please email us at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook.